Welcome to lesson 12, problem definition and mapping. So this is the first stage of doing any kind of machine learning problem. So first we have to understand the business problem. And once we understand the business problem, then we have to create hypothesis. So we'll be discussing about why hypothesis we have to create. Then we would actually do a couple of example, and then we would understand that how this hypothesis creation actually helps you in next stage while doing a data mapping. And we would be actually doing an example with a real example. So let's first discuss about why hypothesis creation. So before exploring any data, we need to understand the relationship between variables. I mean, when I talk about variables, that is nothing but all those attributes by which we try to predict something. Suppose if I say that I want to predict the sales, so what is my daily sales or weekly sales, I want to predict that. What are the attributes or factors which might affect that sales? I'm talking about those variables. So you might think that first I need to look at the data set, whatever the data I have ready with me, available with me, and then based on that I would try to predict. But actually data science concept says the other way. They say first you look at the dependent variable, which is your sales, which you are trying to understand or which you are trying to predict. Now without looking at the data, you try to think what are the attributes which might affect this. So the reason behind that is, once you look at the data, you might be biased. So you would never think of any social media data if you look at a tabular form. But when you think aloud, if you think in a holistic way, what are the things which might affect my sales? Probably the social media data can be one of them, which you would not consider if you do not have the data set always with you. So that's why we say first, even without looking at the dataset itself, first understand the business problem, what you are trying to achieve or what you are trying to predict. Then think a holistic way that what are the attributes which might affect this sales. And once you understand that part, then you can look at the data and understand which are the attributes already available with you and which are the attributes probably you have to create. So taking one of the example, so suppose use case is I have to predict the sales. Now business objective is what? Why the sales of the company is getting lower day by day. Now this is my dependent variable, sales. Now I am creating my hypothesis. So if you remember from the earlier classes, what is hypothesis? Hypothesis is nothing but a assumption about a population parameter. It can be mean, it can be proportion, it can be variance, anything else. But this is a hypothesis, a assumption. So what is my assumption? My assumption is this sales, is it due to seasonality? Why the low sales? Is it due to seasonality? Or is the product not good? Or is there a similar product already in the market? So these are my assumption that I am thinking these are the factor probably which is actually affecting my sales. Okay, and that's how probably I'm trying to understand this business objective. Or is it unavailable? The product is unavailable in the market, or probably people are not aware of your product properly. You need to do marketing activity. Then probably because of the market condition, nothing to do with your product or quality, the market itself is down, and that's why probably people are not buying it. Or maybe your price is quite high than among the other competitor, that's why probably people are not buying. Or maybe your return policy is not good compared to your competitors, or probably you haven't created any brand at all, so people don't perceive your product as a branded product. So these things can be your initial hypothesis. Now these are not exhausted list. So probably I have created this within 10 or 15 minutes. But if I spend more and more time, and if I have more business knowledge, I could have created more than 50 variable. But let's go ahead with these variables itself. Now how all those hypotheses would actually help me to create the data. So when I had the business problem, client gave me this business problem and tell me that this is what is my business problem. Now you tell me how your analytics can help. So I started with those hypotheses, and from those hypotheses I would again go back to my client and ask for, do you have this data set? Why? Because when I'm saying is low sales due to seasonality, that is nothing but I can only understand looking at the transactional details. So I would go back and ask for these transactional details. Do you have all those transactional details? Date, store ID, store type, holiday, product type, area type, temperature, all those stuff. I would ask whether you already capturing this data set or not. Then how would I understand whether product is good or not? So I would try to understand defects per 100 unit or customer complaint, packaging type. Similarly, is there any similar product in the market? So probably I would I need to go back to the nearest shop and who are also selling similar kind of product. What is the distance from each of those retail outlet, or probably similar kind of product is launching within some time frame. Then unavailability of the item. So like that, for each of those attributes or the hypothesis, whatever we thought about, so it can actually tag to a data set which you have to understand or you have to collect. If it is there with your client, then very good. If it is not there, probably you have to get it from some outside source. So probably this kind of data set, nearest shop distance or similar product launch, probably your client would not have. But if you do a simple Google search or Google map, or maybe some third party data availability, probably you might get that kind of data itself. So idea here is, if you can see that without even looking at data, I started thinking about what are the things which can probably affect my dependent variable sales. As you can see that brand perception, how would I understand? Probably I can go back and look into the tweets, how people are normally tweet about you. Do they perceive it as a branded product or not? All those kind of stuff. Now, once we have it, what I want to do, I want to take a real example. I mean, this is a real example from Kaggle. This is a real data about a bike sharing company, and we would take this example throughout our journey of learning machine learning. So now we are at the first stage where we are creating hypothesis. I would be using the same data set for understanding cleaning, for understanding other part as well. So we would take some time to actually understand the data set and the business objective as well. So let me start with the business problem, and you can again go back anytime to actually look at the data set and the business objective as well. So this is about a bike sharing system where probably you can rent a bicycle, you can take anywhere, and you can deposit in other places as well. But all those points have been captured. I mean, where you have taken, where you have dropped, how many miles you have gone through, at what time you have taken, how much you have paid, all those stuff. Do you have a membership or not? Are you a casual rider or are you a regular rider? So what was the temperature on that day? All those stuff is being captured in those companies. Now, what we have to do, so this is a simple business problem, but what we have to do, we have to predict the demand. That suppose if I am saying today is monsoon, and today in this region or in this city, what would be my bike sharing demand? So that we have to do. So we have been given a lot of data. I mean, we have date, time, we have season like 1, 2, 3, 4, and the meaning is also given. Then we have it was holiday or not. Obviously, if it is a holiday, your demand would be higher than normal day, right? And if it is a working day also, probably a lot of, in a couple of cities where people actually use this bike for going to their office, then probably it would be much more higher on those days, on those cities. Similar to that, you have weather 1 to 4, the meaning is given, the temperature, and the temperature which is feels like, then you have humidity, wind speed, and the rest of these 3 columns. These 3 columns are very important, which we have to predict that having these condition in our mind what would be the casual user, what would be regular or registered user, and what would be the total count. So if you can see, this is my total count, and I have the breakdown as well, that how many casual and how many registered user are there. So after understanding the data, though I started from looking at the data set, but ideally even before you look at the data set, probably you can actually try to create your own hypothesis. Okay, so probably if we start creating our hypothesis, what are the things probably would be thinking even before looking at the data set? So probably one of the thing is like hourly trend. So there must be high demand during office time, and early morning and late evening can have different trend. So probably this is my hypothesis. And then probably daily trend. So registered user demand more bike on weekdays as compared to weekend or holidays, because that's why they are registered, they normally go to office. So this is my assumption. It might be true, it might not be true, but these are my assumption, these are my hypothesis. Similarly, if about rain, the demand of bikes will be lower on a rainy day as compared to sunny day, because people would probably take a cab on the rainy day rather than hiring a bike. Similarly, in temperature, so temperature also you can think that in India probably temperature has negative correlation with bike demand. So if it is too hot, probably you would not go for bike. But if you actually look at the data set where it's been captured, Washington, so probably the temperature graph, it might be having a positive correlation. I mean, if it is more temperature, then people would be looking for hiring bike itself. Similar to that for time. Now for each of the time, the demand would be different. So my assumption is total demand should be higher contribution of registered user as compared to casual user, because registered user base would increase over time. Similar to that, traffic, it can be positively correlated with bike demand, and higher traffic may force people to use bike as compared to other road transport medium like car, taxi, etc. So as you can see, so this was our problem statement. And we had already the data set, and we already started doing our first step of machine learning, which is hypothesis testing. Now in next class, we would be actually doing data preparation on top of this data set.